Guys, the other week I put out a video about how to overcome depression through physical activity, and I had somebody email me, and he said that he has been training for the last 5 years. He's made strength gains, he's put on some muscle, but he still feels inadequate. In fact, he kind of hates himself, and he's not confident in himself, and he can't figure out why. You know, he's got a good physique. He's still, he's getting strong, and he's gotten stronger over the last 5 years, but he can't be himself in certain social situations. And the thing is, I think that a lot of us who get into training, who get into physical fitness, whether it be bodybuilding, powerlifting, MMA, whether it be any other sport, a lot of us who do these things, we come from places where we felt inadequate, and we were trying to fill our lives with something that could give us some sort of purpose, that could give us some sort of meaning, and that could build our self-confidence up to the point where we felt normal. I'm definitely one of these people. I was a weak little kid. I put so much weight for years on how I looked and how my body looked and how strong I was. And it wasn't until recently that I've kind of, realized that those things aren't as important as I once thought. Now, I'm not saying that bodybuilding and powerlifting and the strength sports in general are not worthy pursuits. I think that they're definitely worthy pursuits, and I got a lot out of them. But this is what I am saying. A lot of us act like, when we're going to the gym, it's like a war. It's like a battlefield in there. And we're going to kill the weights. We're going to go beast mode. We're going to destroy the place, And we treat it like it's a fight. But what we fail to realize is that the real fight isn't in the gym, and it's not a fight against the weights, right? The reality is, when we're in the gym, a lot of times we're in an air-conditioned space, unless you're training in like a garage gym or something like that, and the weights that we're training against, they don't move, they don't fight back. And even if you are like training a martial art like jiu-jitsu or something like that, even though you're training against a person who's fighting back, it's still not the real war here in life, right? Because we don't train jiu-jitsu for our own, survival as a person, right? It'll help you in certain survival situations, but that's not the reason why you train jiu-jitsu. The reason to do any of these sports is to get something, to learn something that you can apply to your life, right? And I think that a lot of us who get into these sports, we get so wrapped up into the ego behind it. We get so wrapped up into, I want to, squat 500 pounds. I want to be shredded. I want to be so muscular, that we forget to learn what we're learning from the journey. We have our eyes all set on the end game. We have our eyes set on that 500-pound squat, the ripped body, the black belt. But we forget to apply what we've learned to our lives. And there's so much that you can learn from any sport that you pursue. Discipline, right? The ability to do more things because you've limited yourself from doing other things, right? Jocko Willink has this in his book, Extreme Ownership, that he wrote along with Leif Babin. He says discipline equals freedom, right? And, I learned discipline not just from sports, I learned it from the Marine Corps. But one thing that I'm able to do to this day that helps me to get more things done, that helps me to run a company, that helps me to be able to do these videos, that helps me to be able to roll jiu-jitsu, that helps me to be able to spend time with my girlfriend, that helps me to do all the things that I want to do with my life, is I wake up at 4 a.m. every single day, and I'm at my computer, and I get 3 hours of time to myself, right? And that's something that I took from the sports that I've done, from my experience in the Marine Corps, and I've been able to use those to apply to life, to make them into things that have helped me to become more successful. You know, other things that you can start to understand about life from sports is that you can get yourself more used to suffering and more comfortable with suffering. And what you realize when you go through a little bit of suffering, you know, maybe some self-imposed suffering, is that a lot of the things that people complain about in their everyday lives, like they're hangry. You know, how many times have you heard somebody say they're hangry? Well, if you've dealt with hunger and you've been able to live with hunger and function with hunger, you start to realize that it's not that big of a deal. It's no reason to be in a bad mood. It's no reason to let it ruin your day like some people do, right? You also start to realize some things about self-reliance and allowing yourself to really depend on you in order to accomplish things, not to depend on others, or, you know, not to wait around for somebody else to do something, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Rather than waiting around for somebody else to do something, you know that you've got to get out there and get to practice or get to the gym. If you want to get the body that you want, if you want to get better at your sport, you've got to get the training in, right? And all these things I think that we take as obvious, but we forget. And so when we get into our normal lives, like our jobs or trying to run a business, or, you know, trying to accomplish anything outside of our sport or our training, a lot of times we forget, you know. And so to those of you out there who aren't feeling confident in yourselves, even though you've been training regularly, if you're still feeling depressed about where your life is, if you are you know, holding yourself back from something, what I would implore you to do is to really, one, think about where you want to go, what you want to do, what you want your life to look like, right? A few people, you know, all of us put ourselves on these kinds of quests, but few of us ever actually take the time to write down a vision for what we actually want out of our lives. What does your perfect life look like, right? Actually sit down for a half hour, write that out in words, right? And go from everything, make it very detailed. What does your house look like? What does your wife look like, or your husband? What does your average everyday look like? You know, what do you do in the morning? What do you do in the mid-morning? What do you do in the afternoons? What do you do before you go to sleep? How are you spending your time? Where are you living? All these things. Write this stuff down. And then really think about how you're going to get there. And then take all that discipline, take all that self-reliance, take all that problem-solving ability, take all that ability to suffer, and then apply it to that bigger picture. And if you look at that vision every day before you go to sleep, I promise you, you will always wake up in the morning with a sense of purpose for what you want, right? And what you want to accomplish that day. And overall, like I said, remember that the real war isn't in the gym. It's not against the weights. The real war is fought out here. It's fought in the real world. It's fought against an enemy that's a lot more dangerous than a barbell. The real war is to achieve what we want to achieve in this world. So that's all I got for today, guys. I hope that made sense. I hope I wasn't talking out of my ass. You know, if you know somebody who can use the advice that I gave in this video, please share it. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.